Eyes on You, Chapter 20. What she sees. Trixie! If you want to cuddle up to the enemy, that's fine, but don't drag me into it! Trixie stopped down the street with a fist's determination to ignore any and all questioning looks drawn her way. She passed the chariots waiting outside the stadium without so much as a sideways glance at the royal guards. She wasn't interested in a comfy ride back to the hotel. She'd rather walk. Trixie, please wait! The showmare's stride faltered a little, but she quickly composed herself. You're mad at her, remember? She told herself. You thought she was smart enough to avoid falling into his trap, but apparently you were wrong. It's as much as her fault as it is his. Thoughts were a little hard to swallow, and maybe they born mostly out of the heat of the moment. But still, even if Flair was deserving most of the blame, Twilight was completely innocent. Trixie! Twilight galloped alongside and fell into step, having to trot to keep pace. She cast Trixie a worried look. Trixie, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to accept you. It's fine, Twilight. Trixie spat, not looking at her. I'm a big mayor. If you want to spend time with him, then be my guest. But I don't, said Twilight. That's not what I want at all. He was only trying to help you two make up. Trixie rolled her eyes. Oh, please. I was born yesterday. He's obviously got you under his spell. Twilight slowed down a little, obviously caught off guard. What? What are you talking about? She said, hurrying to catch up again. As you don't know. Trixie threw back with a scolding look. You said yourself that you find him charming. I never said that, Twilight retorted. Despite her words, there was a noticeable flush on her cheeks, and Trixie wasn't convinced in the slightest. She turned her eyes back to the path and huffed. It's not really your fault. He does it to everybody. Trixie, please, said Twilight desperately. The lavender mare upped her pace so she could look at Trixie's eyes again. You don't have to be jealous of him, not on my part. He wanted to regain your trust, and he asked for my help, that's all. Trixie scoffed. It sounded like a very Flair thing to do, playing the good guy to make himself look better. Whether it was true or not was a different matter. Even if it was, Trixie had no interest in making up with him. She'd come this far without him, and having him around would just slow her down again. She chanced to look over at Twilight, who still had a sad, concerned frown on her face. Even with the mood she was in, Trixie found it hard to ignore that look. Trixie, her partner began, he told me you were brother and sister. I'll bet he did. Trixie grunted. I suppose you want to know why I didn't tell you. Twilight bit her lip, then shook her head. I honestly don't care, she said, taking Trixie by surprise. It's none of my business. I shouldn't have gotten involved. Trixie found herself slowing down, regarding Twilight with a curious look. She'd been expecting the inquisitive unicorn to at least press her for information. Now she was just apologizing and willing to leave it there? Then why did you try to help him in the first place? Trixie asked. Twilight slowed down along with her and glanced at the ground and thought. I just thought it might be worth trying. That part of you might want to get to know your brother again, if you were too proud to admit it. Trixie crossed her gaze. You were doing it for me, then. I thought it might make you happy, Twilight muttered. There was a long pause. Coming from any pony else, Trixie would have taken the sentiment as utter pony feathers, an excuse to get out of trouble. But this was Twilight. This was the kind of thing that Twilight would do. And to face it that, it wasn't fair at all for Trixie to stay angry. She huffed again, deliberately turned her hair away. Well, in that case, I suppose I'll have to forgive you. Forgive me? Twilight repeated. Trixie threw her a look, at which the bemused expression on Twilight's face formed into a hasty smile. I mean, good. Thank you. They stared at one another for a moment, before looking back to the path ahead in silence. Their hotel was a fair ways away from the stadium, so it wouldn't exactly be a short walk. While casting her mind about for something to occupy her, Trixie remembered the envelope that he'd been given in the waiting room. What's in the letter? She asked, determined to sound casual. Oh, right. The letter unicorn slowly flourished her horn, and brought forth the envelope which held each of their names and titles on the front. She split it open and pulled out a single piece of paper within, holding it where they could both see it. Competitors, congratulations on your performance during the first event. We've been instructed to inform you that Mittens thoroughly enjoyed herself, and that he and his team were both highly honored to have the chance. Trixie skipped ahead to the most important part. Enclosed are the details of the third and final event on display. For this event, each pair will have allocated a 5-minute time slot, during which they have the arena floor to themselves. During this time, your goal should be to use your magic in combination with your partner in order to create a unique performance to wow the crowd, as well as those judges who will be determining your score. Besides the maximum time limit, there are no restrictions for this event. You may use any and all forms of magic you possess in whatever way you deem the most effective. You have been allocated the remainder of today, in addition to the entirety of tomorrow, to plan and prepare for the event. You'll receive a summons on the following morning, and the chariot will be waiting to deliver you to the stadium by noon. Shortly thereafter, the event will begin. Also, as a fair warning, we are permitted to tell you that the weather schedule for today's events calls for rain, beginning mid-morning and ending in the late afternoon. All competitors should prepare themselves accordingly. Good luck to you both. We both look forward to your performance. Having finished reading, Trisha gave the details one last skim before groaning loudly. No different than what I do all the time. It should be easy, so long as there's nothing to fall off of, she added in undertone. She still couldn't believe that she had actually fallen from the pillar. As far as embarrassing losses went, that was one of her worst since, well, one of her worst in a long time. Trying to put it from her mind, she cast a glance over at Twilight, who was staring at the document as a deep thought. What's wrong with you? Said Trixie. We're competing directly against the others' magic. They don't stand a chance. Twilight shook her head. No, we're performing, she stressed. Trixie shrugged. Same difference. No, it's not, said Twilight. The other two events were practical challenges. See, I could do it too. This one sounds more like about style, showing off. Trixie let out a long groan and rolled her head in exasperation. Tell me we're not doing this again. No, you're right. I'm sorry, Twilight huffed. I just want to mess this up. We're so close, and I know how much you want to win. Twilight, please. You haven't messed anything up so far, said Trixie darkly, scolding herself again. I fell for the pillar and got disqualified. I made the dumb move and ruined our ruse with the Chimera. If anything, I should be the one worried about making another mistake. Twilight seemed to have no response for that, though. Her jaws tried to find one. After a long moment of her wordless stammering, Trixie finally took mystery and huff again. Look, my point is, you are doing perfectly. Just keep it up and we'll come out on top. Twilight hesitated, but managed to nod. Okay. They didn't get much of a chance to speak to one another that evening. Or rather, they had a chance, but Trixie opted not to take it. Twilight headed to the library on the way back to the hotel, insisting she pick up a couple of books on stage performance. Trixie, despite giving an unsettled eye roll, made no verbal objection. If Twilight wanted to waste her evening on that, it was her choice. He had the whole of the following day to plan the performance anyway. The two of them sat in their room on the evening, with Twilight poring over every book in silence, while Trixie sat on her couch, pretending to be planning out the oncoming event. In reality, she was just moping around, all distracted by her mistake. So much so she found herself taking any opportunity she could to avoid making progress. They both agreed to compare notes, sit down for a playing session the following morning, but by the time it came, Trixie still had nothing left to offer. Night's restless sleep hadn't done anything to help her mood. A Philly's Guide to Stage Performing, Magic Edition, insists that one should always take into consideration the size and positioning of the audience when planning presentations, Twilight explained. Therefore, the magnitude and direction of one's spells will always be affected by the number of points in the crowd. And their respective positions to make sure every point gets seen, right? Trixie grunted. Her chin rested on the arm of the couch, and she stared boredly at the opposite wall, whilst her partner paced around the room. So, since our audience consists of several hundred ponies, sat in a huge circle around and above us, we have to make sure that any spell we use is big enough and high enough for them to see. It's gonna be raining, so visibility is gonna be less than desirable. What's the book say about that? Spells that use environmental conditions, such as weather, to their advantage, so the utility of the performer, as well as generally occurrence. I guess that means we should think about including some weather-bending spells to our routine. What do you think, Trixie? It even occurred to Trixie that her response had been less than adequate, until Twilight abruptly stopped pacing and let out a loud huff. Alright, this isn't working, the Book of Unicorn declared. Trixie then blinked, then again, before turning her eyes to face the Twilight. was standing halfway across the room with a firm frown on her face. It was directed straight towards Trixie. "What?" said the Soulmare dumbly. "You know what? You've been distracted all morning." Trixie closed her eyes and stretched her fat legs in front of her. Have I?" she corrected casually. "Yes, and you've been moody, too." "Moody?" Trixie repeated, setting herself up and throwing Twilight a quizzical look. Lavender Mare nodded decidedly. "There's no point in us doing this now if you can't concentrate. You need a break. Come on." With that, Twilight turned and trotted over to the door and held it open. Trixie remained on her couch, bewildered. "And what exactly do you have in mind?" she asked defiantly. "You're going out with me," Twilight declared. Trixie raised an eyebrow. "Remind me where we're going," said Trixie, casting a sidelong look at her partner as they ambled down one of Manhattan's main streets. "I didn't say because I don't know," said Twilight irascibly. "You mean to tell me that you don't have our entire day planned out?" said Trixie. "I find that hard to believe." Twilight shrugged and smiled, unconcerned. "I can be impulsive sometimes." "Stop looking at me like that, audience. You know it's true." "I guess the competition has helped pry out that side of me." "Uh-huh," Trixie grunted skeptically. Why DC agreed to this was beyond her understanding. She didn't particularly want to be out taking a break today. She much rather be indoors on her couch. Though she had to admit she was curious as to what Twilight had in store for her in her choice of words. "You're going out with me." Not that there was anything strange about that expression, but it was still interesting that Twilight had chosen it. The streets were fairly busy, presumably because it was downtime for the display. Or maybe everybody was simply out enjoying the heat of the sunshine before the rain tomorrow. At any rate, Trixie and Twilight both drew a number of looks and excited murmurings from passers-by. Trixie would have felt a lot better about that if she actually finished the pillar climb. As it was, she couldn't tell whether they had been saying that was in praise or derision. She actually glared a couple of times at Phillies that giggled in passing. They had been walking a good 15 minutes before Twilight came to a steady stop and banged at a building across the street. "There! That's perfect!" Trixie followed her gaze to the emblazoned sign on the long window storefront. "Mr. Softy's Ice Cream Parlor," she said around. "You're not serious." "You don't like Mr. Softy's?" said Twilight, throwing a surprised look. Trixie flushed. I didn't say. It's just ridiculous. What's the pudding solace?" Twilight raised an eyebrow. "In an ice cream parlor, on a hot day, I don't think any pudding would mind." The tantalizing tinkle of the door across the street drew Trixie's eyes to where a trio of Phillies had just emerged, bearing bowls of strawberry glazed sundae on their backs. They set them down on one of the tables outside and beamed at one another before digging in. Trixie licked her lips. She promptly shook her head and turned to Twilight, who was smiling invitingly. Well, Trixie tried, but ultimately found herself conceding. With a loud huff, she started towards the parlor door. "Alright, fine, but I will enjoy it." She forced herself to ignore the sound of Twilight copying her host together in girlish triumph. They entered the parlor and took the smallest table in the corner by the window. Twilight waved over a waiter and ordered 2 of the same item from the menu. Well, someone's just asking Trixie's opinion. The Soulmare supposed she could trust her, though. Twilight Sparkle seemed to have good taste in sweets, at least. As the waiter hurried out to get their order, Twilight flashed a wide smile across the table. "Alright, what are you up to?" said Trixie. "Nothing," Twilight assured her. "We're taking a break to cheer you up, and I intend to do just that." Trixie grunted. "Don't need cheering up." Twilight definitely heard the grumble, but she didn't make any comment or argument. She just kept smiling. The waiter promptly arrived back with 2 flutes of ice cream. Creamy white with a strawberry glazing and a dainty cherry on top. Obviously, Twilight had seen Trixie looking at the Phillies outside. When Twilight offered payment, the waiter shook his head and declared that these 2 were on the house, since the pair were her competitors on display. With that, and a thank you very much for Twilight, he left them alone. While Trixie waited, eyeing her partner suspiciously, Twilight didn't hesitate. She dug in and raised the spoon to her lips, managing somehow to smile at Trixie, even around the utensil in her mouth. For her part, Trixie rolled her eyes, determined not to smile back, despite how cute she looked. Neither said anything as they both started eating their way through the desserts. It was kind of delicious, Trixie supposed, but she didn't let the frown on her face falter. It wasn't until about a third of the way down her flute that something distracted her from Twilight's insistent smile. Beyond the window, she perchance caught a hint of a green in the corner of her eye. Turning her head, she saw its source across the street. Her eyes narrowed to a firm glower. Flair was strutting along, cool as he dared, with Desert Rose at his side. Again, he was smiling and nodding to the passers-by to recognize them as comparators. Typical, attention-seeking, big-headed, ahem! Trixie blinked in surprise and turned to Twilight, who just cleared her throat loudly. The lavender mare had an eyebrow raised, and her spoon levitated midway to her mouth. What? Said Trixie. Eyes on me, please, said Twilight. We're on a date, aren't we? Trixie's mouth hung open a little as she found herself hesitating. That's a little bold of you, she said hurriedly, trying to hide her astonishment. Twilight's cheeks reddened a little as she assumed lifting her spoon to her mouth. For once, she didn't let her embarrassment get the best of her. Well, she said, glancing at the table, I had a great powerful teacher, didn't I? She smiled up at Trixie again, before quirking her head cutely and taking the restful bowl of her ice cream. The normally self-assured Soulmare found herself at something of a disadvantage. Twilight sparkled, confident, decisive. Trixie couldn't help but wonder if this was really her doing, more than it was of Twilight's success to display. At any rate, she had to admit she found it somewhat appealing. And arousing. That's us, like, say them all. They both fell into silence as Trixie focused on eating, to little avail. Twilight seemed to make a game of staring across at her when she wasn't looking, only to pretend that regarding her ice cream when the showmare looked up. Trixie stayed her comment that's annoying, not wanting to give Twilight the satisfaction of admitting that she noticed. While it felt like hours, in reality, it only took minutes to finish off their ice creams. Afterwards, it was still forenoon, and much of the day had ahead of them. Forenoon? Forenoon? Okay, that is not a word. Sweet Mother McCree, it is a word. Huh, forenoon. Noun. Archaic. The morning. The wind starts picking up in the forenoon. Well, why not just say morning? What? Did you suddenly realize that your word of the day calendar picked a cool word? I'm really gonna get more of those. Rather than heading back to the hotel room, though, Twilight insisted their break wasn't over until Trixie cheered up. Despite Trixie's assertion she was plain cheered up already, Twilight remained solidly determined. There was something up to her proverbial sleeve. The lavender mare guided them through the streets, or as they plodded along, taking seemingly random turns keeping an eye out for anything interesting, while Trixie followed beside her. Eventually they came to some kind of marketplace. The whole street of them was flanked by stalls and stands of all kinds on either side of the road, and the place was bustling with activity. Ooh, what do you suppose this is all about? Said Twilight, looking over the stall that sold many hats and robes. It's probably an art display, Trixie mused. It looks a lot like the stands that are focused on selling magical goods. Or replicas, anyway. Twilight's eyes went wide and glistened with excitement. A magic bazaar? She breathed. I haven't been one of these since I left Caroline. Come on, let's explore! Why, it smells like junk, said Trixie. Even she picked up a supposed legendary cape class, the form of a red ruby jewel. She kept taking back her words for all 2 seconds it took her to find Made in Las Pegasus sticker on the back. That's not the point, Twilight Karen. She paused and gently pressed up against Trixie's side. I want to explore with you. Trixie saw her a sidelong look. Twilight smiled back. Conceding, without an air of suspicion, Trixie huffed and started towards one of the less dull-looking stands on the way. Her partner merrily trotted alongside, casting her eyes about a lot more determination than it took for simply browsing. She was looking for something. So, what's wrong? Trixie asked as they passed another trinket stall. Nothing as far as I know, said Twilight cutely. Are you okay? I'm fine, huffed Trixie. This was getting unnerving. She had to say something. Look, not that I don't admire the newfound confidence, but you're acting weird, even for you. Twilight cocked her head, giving us a smile. Am I? Well, maybe I just woke up on the right side of the bed this morning. Trixie stared at her, deadpan. Speaking from experience, there was a big difference between cute and morning Twilight and the Twilight that was beside her now. This just wasn't one of those annoyingly good mood things. Eventually, Twilight's smile faltered a little. She turned her head away, pretending to look at some necklaces on a nearby stall. Or maybe I woke up and decided I was going to do something today. Intrigued now, Trixie raised an eyebrow. And that something is a secret, swallowed Twilight shortly, trying onwards with her. But you'll find out as soon as I find what I'm looking for. And before you ask, that's a secret too. Trixie gave the back of Twilight's head a short glare. Confound your secrets! For what felt like a very long time, they just walked and browsed in a sort of companionable but distracted silence. Trixie kept trying to guess at what Twilight was looking for by the stalls she chose to scrutinize more closely, but no avail. And despite getting closer to finding whatever it was, Trixie didn't seem to lose any of her enthusiasm. After searching about a dozen stalls, she did slow down noticeably, but her smile didn't leave her. She pressed unsubtly hard against Trixie's side as a precursor to her next question. Do you want to talk about the pillar? Trixie furrowed her brow. The pillar? That's what you're grumpy about, isn't it? Said Twilight. Falling from the pillar? I mean, besides what happened with me and Flare. Forget Flare! Snapped Trixie, seeing Twilight was getting at. I told you, I forgive you for that. You were right the first time. I'm mad at myself for not even finishing the race. Twilight opened her mouth, but Trixie cut her off. Don't say it's not my fault. If it wasn't, then the flower filly would have fallen too. But she didn't. I was the only one. Twilight's mouth closed. Trixie stiffly turned her gaze to one side with a self-punishing glare. She had to admit, silently to herself, that part of her had been hoping Twilight would argue with her, maybe convince her it wasn't her fault after all. In the end, they both knew that was a lie. It's not the end of the world, though, said Twilight after a moment, or the display for that matter. In fact, since I beat Flare and we won the first event, we should still be in the lead points-wise. Trixie shook her head slightly. That's not the point. Twilight sighed. I know. I'm just trying to help you see the brighter side. I want to see that smile of yours. That's unlikely, said Trixie, rolling her eyes. I think the only thing that could make me smile right now would be... Hold that thought, said Twilight, beaming wide at her stall across the street. She flashed Trixie an excited look. Wait, right there. I'll be back in a second. No peeking. And with that, she dashed off towards the stall in question, disappearing into a small crowd that ambled past. Trixie blinked at her. She had been about to say your homemade cinnamon apple pancakes, but Twilight had seen those on that stall. Twilight would eat her keep. Why is he acting so strangely? She wondered. Whatever sees society today must be very important. As hard as she tried to deny it, Trixie felt a rush of anxious excitement well up inside. Whatever it was, it had something to do with Trixie herself. But what was it? When Twilight emerged from the crowd about 3 minutes later, with a subdued but very still warm grin on her face, Trixie got the feeling she was about to get her answer. Okay, said Twilight, choking a little as her throat was dry. She promptly cleared it as she came to a stop beside Trixie, and planted her hose on the pavement. Looked like she was about to get some sort of prepared speech. But instead, she magically levitated what looked like a hoof-held mirror from behind her back, and referred to Trixie along with a smile. Trixie raised an eyebrow, tilted her head at the object. Upon closer inspection, it was, indeed, a hoof-held mirror, oval in shape and decent-sized handle, with all that looked like a solid gold around the edges. Said gold was emblazoned with a swirling pattern that gave it a rather regal look. It was pretty for sure. Taking it in her magic, Trixie takes a grateful look at her own reflection. She looked gorgeous, of course, and perhaps a little grumpy, too. Is this a hint that there's something on my face? Said Trixie, not realizing how cold the words sounded until after she said them. Twilight didn't seem to notice, though. She actually let out a little giggle. No, test it with your horn. Trixie praised her brow. What lie? Just do it, trust me, said Twilight brightly. Confused as she was, Trixie wasn't quick to obey. Twilight seemed utterly excited about this. She doubted the bookish mare would play a prank on her, but it was strange all the same. When it came down to it, though, Trixie trusted her partner more than she trusted any pony. Why not? She greeted with a curled lip. Trixie leaned forwards and lowered her horn slowly, glancing at Twilight as she did. Now when her mare held her smile, biting that proverbial bullet, Trixie closed her eyes and pressed her horn up against the cold sheen in the mirror. She felt a tingling surge as her magic connected with that which was hidden inside the mirror. That connection startled her, but she didn't pull away. It didn't feel malevolent, rather. It felt a little bit like Twilight. This was the only way she could describe it. Whatever spell the mirror had been channeling through her came to a gentle end. Trixie opened her eyes and pulled back to get a look back at what had been done. Around the mirror, she saw that Twilight was still watching closely, The response seemed a little anxious now. Trixie did a double take at the image in the mirror. It was her, Trixie. But it wasn't her reflection as it had been a moment ago, as though she was standing her opposite self, watching, looking inside the mirror. It was as disorienting as it sounded. As she looked at her hoof, Trixie and Miller did the same. She moved the mirror to one side. The mirror within the mirror moved with it. She thrust the hoof towards the twilight. The answer mirror in the mirror pointed right towards Trixie. It's kind of funny to watch. It took a moment, but the cogs in Trixie's brain began to lock into place. She looked away from the mirror to meet Twilight's smiling, slightly amused eyes. "It's me," Trixie muttered, "but from your point of view." Twilight nodded happily. "It's a sight bonding enchantment. The spell within the mirror tunes itself to 2 unicorns. Whatever those unicorns touch it thereafter will be seen through the other's eyes." Trixie's jaw fell open as she glanced across the mirror again. Sure enough, she saw her reflection copied to one side of the flying mirror. "So, right now, I'm seeing myself through your eyes," said Trixie. It wasn't a question. She understood the concept, but taking in this kind of magic was a bit undertaking. "Yes," said Twilight. "It only works between 2 parties who trust one another. If there's anything I'm not comfortable with you seeing..." She pointed in the mirror, then demonstrated looking across the street at another stall. "The image blurs out." Trixie checked. It saw that her words rang too. The mirror seemed to have fogged up, though her attempt was wiped was so fruitless. A moment later, the fog cleared as Twilight went back to smiling at Trixie. The fog that was forming the showmare's mind, however, was not easy to get rid of. "Why are you giving me this?" Trixie asked, searching for the answer in Twilight's eyes. Twilight opened her mouth and hesitated, a smile failing as she did. Where, for an entire moment so far, she had been so brazen and confident, she suddenly seemed to mellow out into a much more familiar, self-conscious Twilight. Mare dropped her gaze at Trixie's chest and pursed her lips in thought. "This is what I was looking for," Twilight said quietly. "Something like it, anyway. I wanted a way to show you. I wanted something to let you know that I'm thinking about you." Trixie raised her eyebrow and gulped as the street around her seemed to go deadly silent. Twilight bit her lip for a second before continuing. "If we split up after the display, this will keep us connected. You could look at it and you'll just know." She met Trixie's eye. There was a pause for all of a second before Twilight started stammering a sort of panic determination. "And the reason I chose this in particular is because I was looking for something to make you smile, and I started thinking about things that make me smile, and then the first thing that came to my mind was..." She broke off and managed to take a solid breath before it bit her lip again. "You." The sheepish mare tipped her head to one side as she went on mercifully slower pace. I thought, if you see yourself the way I see you, then it might..." She may have farted as she was cringing inside. "Oh, I sound so sappy." Trixie didn't touch Twilight's cheek. "Come, stop your crying. It'll be all right. Just take my hand and hold it tight. I will protect you from all around you. I will be here, don't you cry. For one so blue, you seem so strong. My legs will hold you, keep you safe and warm. This bond between us can't be broken. I'll be here, don't you cry. 'Cause you'll be in my heart. Yes, you'll be in my heart. From this day on, now and forevermore. You'll be in my heart. No matter what they say, you'll be here in my heart. Always. You guys keep this... This thing keeps up, I'm pulling out the Kiss by a Rose. And don't try to stop me. Well, actually, Trixie would be the only one who could stop me. And she is gone right now. Yes, I know. I'm tempting fate. Let me have this. Trixie found herself staring, wide-eyed, as her partner turned her gaze to the ground in shame. In the long silence that followed, Trixie's brain function started to return, as she started to process everything she had heard. Words didn't fail her. The only thing she could think of to do was turn and look in the mirror that floated beside her. Held within a misty image of snow and paved road beneath twilight, were a purple globe, which looked like a hoof in one corner. Trixie stared at it for a few moments that might have been minutes, till finally began to shift. Steady as it dared, the image within the mirror seemed to pan upwards as Twilight lifted her head. It was still hazy, but Trixie could see her own hooves. It felt like showing the picture, her chest. As it paused, then her face. The mist started to disperse, and Trixie could make out more and more of herself in the mirror. Till at last it became clear as day. The tall azure and coated mare with long silvery locks that parted at the ends. Her face wasn't blank, rather. It was calm, confident, and serene. The cape fastened around her neck, flowing softly along her sleek back, down past her hind legs, where the head of a tail crept up from underneath one side. As cliched as it sounded, she was beautiful. Trixie's lip twitched. A smile was tugging at her, and she no longer felt any desire to hide it. Her mouth curled upwards to one side, then the other. So did too the mare in the mirror. It was the tiniest, lovely smile, and the sight of it only served to make it grow larger. And I am not doing man in the mirror. That is not appropriate for a romance scene. As her mouth curled upwards to one side, then the other, so did that of the mare in the mirror. It was the tiniest, lovely smile. So only soon to grow larger. Trixie brought hope to press her mane past her ear. She felt a tingling rust as her reflection copied her. There was absolutely no convincing herself otherwise. These were Twilight's feelings. This was what her partner wanted to show her. And to think, all this time she had been worried about Twilight falling under Flair's spell. Twilight, she muttered, remembering the mare across from her and meeting her gaze. I don't know what to say. Twilight pursed her lips and shook her head to tell you Smudge. You don't have to say anything. Yes, I do, Trixie erupted. I just need some time to think about it. She paused. Kiss! Kiss! Come on! She paused, specifically trying not to make sense of the tightness of her stomach. But not now. Just wait. Okay? Oh, come on! Twilight nodded slowly. Okay. Oh, for Pete's sake, this whole entire romance is taking longer to complete than Rainbow Dash and Flare Size back in fall, and I wrote that! Feeling there was something left to be done, kissing each other, something missing that kept her from moving on. Trixie bent back her pride and ground a hoof against the pavement. Thank you for cheering me up, she said, massing an honest smile for her partner. It was easier than she thought. The lavender unicorn across from her cracked a smile of her own. She realized that Trixie was being genuine. The smile grew wider. There was a long, long pause, during which Trixie continued to stare at Twilight. She wasn't thinking. That was for later. Well, she had some time alone, but simply standing there, smiling, didn't seem all that ridiculous. Now she had seen herself, though, through Twilight's eyes. A gentle breeze blew past. The world around her seemed to fall back into place, piece by piece. Margaret was still there. The ponies were still milling about, filling the air with the sound of hoofballs and chatter. Trixie wasn't startled by a sudden awareness, though. In fact, some sort of calm had overtaken her. For the briefest of moments, her senses were all attuned perfectly in a burst of clarity. A pair of colts sang in tune somewhere beyond the crowd. An earth pony at a nearby stall juggled magical, flaming torches to ooze and ahs from the crowd. A feather behind Twilight's ears flared in the breeze. Trixie? Are you all right? Said Twilight, noticing the blank look on Trixie's face as her eyes roamed the market, digging the little details one by one, piecing them together. After a long moment of silence, Trixie's lips finally lifted into a smile. She reached out a hoof on Twilight's fetlock. Twilight, she said, I'm a genius.